Spotlighting Hawaii's leaders.
We want to bring in Governor David E.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Lieutenant Governor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Mayor Derek Kawakami.
Thank you so much, Senator, for being here.
Spotlighting the issues.
Where is the virus right now in our community?
How much is this overall going to cost the state?
How are you responding to the community's concerns? Talk about the level of citations that you guys are writing.
Spotlight Hawaii with Yunji Denise and Ryan Kalei Suji on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs.
Aloha and good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in here to Spotlight Hawaii on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. I'm Ryan Kalei Suji, joined by Yunji Denise. This morning, Yunji, we are focusing on Hawaii Island.
That's right. There has been so much attention there, of course, since the eruption of Mauna Loa. And joining us now is the County Mayor Mitch Roth from his office in Hilo. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
We are doing well. We're more interested in how you and the rest of the island is doing. What can you tell us about the eruption at this point?
Well, it's still limited to the northeast rift zone, which means it's coming down, for those people who are familiar with the Hawaii Island, kind of where the Saddle Road is, where Gilbert Kelly Park is, where the Mauna Kea Access Road, where we had the protests in 2017, 18, 15. So that area, 2019.
Yeah, and if we can take a look at this map to get a better context of where exactly the flow is in relation to the Daniel K. Highway or Saddle Road, we can see there that red indicating where it is compared to that road that we see in the upper right-hand quarter. Where's the flow right now in relation to Saddle Road, and what are your concerns about the movement right now as it moves towards that area?
Okay, so on the map, what you see is a view from yesterday where it was about a little over 4 miles away. Now I think it's about 3.6 miles away. And on the map, you also see those contour lines, the altitudes and things like that. So we are now moving into an area where it flattens out. So, where it was moving a little bit quicker, it will start to slow down and start to open up a little bit. That means, it probably won't get to the Daniel K. Inouye Highway if it does anytime soon. Okay. Maybe in the next what I heard this morning, the fastest, if it kept the same speed, which we don't expect it to, was about 46 hours.
These images are courtesy of USGS, which has been providing some really stunning images of the flow at this point. So what is your threshold then for road closures? We know that is a critical road for a lot of folks who traverse the island. And, at what point do you say, okay, that's too close?
We've been working very closely with USGS, and there's things that we look at. One, we want to make sure that the air quality and people aren't going to get gassed out from the fumes. And you can kind of see in this picture here how the fumes can be blown to a side. And so we look at that. We look at how close it is to the road as far as heat. So we're talking that this flow is going to be different than flows that people have gone up to and been able to get within a few feet. I talked to USGS scientist Ken Hahn this morning, and he was saying that if you get within 20 feet of this flow, you're probably going to end up with a sunburn. It's going to be really hot, so it's going to be a little bit different than other flows, and so we will have to take a whole bunch of things into consideration as it moves closer. But right now, we feel it's still safe for people to be driving by. It's not safe for people to be parking on the highway, but it is safe for people to drive by and go to places like Gilbert Kelly Park and places like that, where we do have places where people can view.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that, because it's no doubt attracting a lot of attention, both from residents and visitors who want to get a close-up look at this. What are you encouraging those who want to get a closer look? Where should they be going? And what maybe should they not be doing in this type of situation on the roadways?
Well, there's very few really good viewing places that are legal to go to. We are in the process of trying to open up a viewing area off of the old Saddle Road, but that road has a couple of different jurisdictions that we're working with. We have federal and state jurisdictions. The county doesn't have any jurisdiction of those roads, and so we're working with them and trying to determine if it's safe to do that. I took a ride there last night, and the views there are stunning. But then again, you can be any place on Hawaii Island except for Kohala. Sorry, Angie, I know your mom lives over there, or maybe Lapahoehoe or Hamakua. Any other place on the island, you have a great view of Mauna Loa, and it's stunning. So you really don't have to go very far to get a view. I know people want to get close for some reason. Hopefully we'll be able to have that area for viewing over there. But right now, there's not a lot of great options to allow people to park and view. So maybe
tell us a little bit about the safety concerns that you have. We understand there was an accident, in fact, last night.
Yeah. So, as we were driving up last night, there was places where you're driving at 50, 60 miles an hour, and it's quite stunning. And so it's mesmerizing. People who are driving oftentimes could be looking aside off the road. And then you have people who are, parking right next to the highway, and they're getting out with their phones and not paying attention to where they're going. And really, that's a recipe for disaster. We had someone who had a door open as we're driving by, and that was kind of a little bit scary. Someone just opening their door without paying attention. We did not get into an accident, but there was an accident on the road, and other things that we saw that, again, really concerning. You have little kids next to a highway, not really safe, not great parenting, and those kinds of things make me really nervous as the mayor. And so, Department of Transportation has put something out. We put something out asking people not to park on the side of the road. Last night, when we were going up, we saw Department of Transportation putting up signs that basically say no parking on the highway, $1,000 fine, which is the amount that the emergency proclamation allows you to fine up to. And so, that's a pretty stiff fine for, wanting to go out there and stop your car and put others in danger or put yourself in danger.
We talked at the top about the proximity right now to Saddle Road and the importance of this roadway that it services between East and West Hawaii. What is the contingency plan or the plans down the line should this flow ultimately reach Saddle Road and impact that bypass between Hilo and Kona? And what does what does the county plan to do in order to alleviate a lot of the traffic that happens on that roadway?
Yeah, well, Ryan, I didn't know, growing up in Hilo, that a lot of times back in the past, people would drive around the Hamakua coast or around the Ka'u Road, and I think that's what people would have to do. What's really interesting is for the last several months, we've had a couple of bridges that have been out. Department of Transportation has been working very diligently to make sure that those bridges are open. The Nenui Bridge is supposed to be finished this week. So if it goes out, we will have the use of both of those bridges, which will allow buses and trucks and everything else to go around. So, our buses that are going over the Diankei Highway, they will be rerouted along the those different routes on the ocean sides, either Ka'u or Hamakua, or both.
You mentioned the air quality. I'm interested to know what you're seeing in different parts of the island. There's been talk about ashfall and things like that. Where are you seeing the biggest impact, if any, and what are you concerned about in regards to pollution there?
We are very concerned. Sorry, I have very little sleep in the last 3 days, so we are very concerned with air quality, and we have meetings every morning with our partners. One of our partners is Department of Health, and so we asked that question this morning about air quality, and so far everything has been green on Hawaii Island. They are in the process of bringing in more sophisticated testing devices, which will be really good. So relatively safe on the Big On. We have had a couple of episodes where Pele's hair was falling down. So we know that we had some at PTA or Pakaloa training area, which is kind of the area where people are going to view the lava. And so recommendations are, if you're going out, we're all used to wearing masks because of COVID. We're used to wearing them more indoors than outdoors, but it may be a good idea to wear those masks if you're going to view the lava someplace, because those particulates get into your lungs, and it can be really difficult. Plus, as the VOG comes up, we haven't had very many days here on Hawaii Island where it's been bad recently, but we expect it to happen. Our understanding was that the winds were going to the north, and so concern for our friends and family over on like Maui and Oahu. I don't know how you guys have had air quality over there, but that was one of the predictions that we heard from the USGS.
I'm wondering, in your conversations with the USGS as they track this flow and as they look at these activity, is there a concern on their end? What are you getting? What are the sense that you're getting as the mayor of trying to, of course, protect residents and infrastructure and land there? Is there any concern down the line that this flow could potentially move in a certain direction? What are they predicting overall with this particular eruption and where it's heading right now?
Ryan, that's a great question. On Hawaii County website, if you go to the Hawaii County website and then you go to civil defense, we have a whole area dedicated to volcano hazards. If you click on that page, it brings up different maps and webcams and things like that. But I want to focus on the maps, because one of the maps talks about historical flows, and they use those historical flows to determine where, or make their predictions on where this lava will flow. The map that they're looking is 1935, 1936. 1935, 1936 actually comes out to that area right around the Mauna Kea access road. A little bit Kona of that, but also it flowed over into that road. That is the prediction right now, based on everything that we're seeing. How the flow is going is where it will probably end up going. As far as conversations, we have a lot of conversations. I'll tell you, since Sunday night, the conversations are, is this going to impact a population? What's the possibilities? And so very little concern about getting down to Hilo or into Kona at this time. Sunday night, we were really concerned about our, especially Ocean View area, South Kona, because if it came off the caldera and a fissure opened on that side, it could be only a couple of hours to get down to the ocean. In my conversations with the USGS scientists, they say that in all their history, they've never seen fissures open on two different sides and pump out to two different sides. And so in an interview yesterday with Ken Hananai, Ken was saying that his belief is very, very slim, under 1%, that go to, for example, the Ka'u or South Kona. There'd be any impact on the communities there. So that's really pretty good. Our concern, of course, was, would it go down to Hilo? Because in 1984, the way this path was originally going, it kind of threatened Hilo a little bit. Right now, Ken's information that I'm getting from him, very little concern that it's going to get to a populated area, which is great.
We'll take that 1%. I like those odds. I'm interested to know, because I know that Ryan and I were talking that we're getting so many calls and texts from friends on the mainland who don't really have an idea of the geography of the island and have the perception that, the whole island is on fire. Are you hearing anything in terms of cancellations, and what's your message to visitors? Is Hawaii Island open for business?
Hawaii Island is definitely open for business, and for people from the mainland, you have really nothing to worry about your friends and family living here on Hawaii Island. It is in such a remote area that the likelihood of someone getting hurt is very, very minimal. The likelihood of people losing their houses is almost at 0% right now. And for those people who are here or coming here or thinking about coming here, right now probably is one of the most opportune times to come to Hawaii. It is, there's very rarely you get a chance to see an active volcano, but one of the viewing places we have on Hawaii Island is Volcanoes National Park, where the volcano is not, where this volcano is not. It's a little ways away, but from Volcanoes National Park right now, you can actually see two active volcanoes at the same time. And I was talking to people like Ken Hahn, who's chief scientist for USGS, and he's never seen that in his life. Some people who lived in Hilo in '84, that actually did happen, but this is something that you may not ever see in your lifetime, or so it is an amazing time to come to Hawaii, and it is safe. I guess that would be my message.
And I guess the other, to branch off of that, we know that when the the last eruption of Kilauea that sparked, of course, it was devastating to the area of Puna and that area. There were some concerns of visitors who canceled trips. We saw a drop of hotels reporting significant losses along the Hamakua coastline because of cancellations, because of the messaging that was going out and the way in which people perceived that the island was in danger. Is there anything that is being done to maybe communicate that the island is safe, that it is open for business, so that the impact on the economic side isn't as severe as impacting some of these tourism, relied on industries?
People have been asking me this question, and I've been answering basically the way I just answered you. Should people leave? No. Should people come? Absolutely. So we've been making that statement. I think HTA may have also been discussing that with some of their briefings. However, we've been really busy focusing on all the other things that we've been focusing on. So I haven't really been listening too much to the messaging from HTA or others. We've been trying to make sure that, to this point, that people are safe, that, if we had to evacuate, early on, that was a consideration. We opened up shelters. And so we're making sure that our community is being taken care of first and foremost. So I really haven't heard too much of those messages, but my message is absolutely, this is an opportune time to be in Hawaii, and maybe one of the best times ever to come to Hawaii. We have great weather. We have, you can be on the beach looking at snow on one mountain, a volcano on the other mountain, and having a great time. And you really don't even need to go. You don't really need to drive anywhere. Just some of the most amazing views that you can ever get. Sunset, sunrise, and a mountain glowing. Just amazing views.
I'm interested to know, I know that researchers aren't necessarily able to predict too far, and lava flows have their own, minds of their own, if you will, but what is the estimation as to how long this will last?
Oh boy, my crystal ball, I brought it into the shop last week. But that being said, I've had these conversations with the scientists from USGS, and one of the things that they say is it can go a couple of days, it can go a year, but the average for a Mauna Loa eruption is about 1 to 2 weeks. That's the average. But like I said, it has gone up to a year, and we hope that doesn't happen. We're hoping it's short-lived, that we don't lose like our highway that takes us across the other side. But while it lasts, it's quite a spectacular sight.
When we talk about this lava flow, of course, there's a lot of people who just remember it, again, alluding to what happened just a few years ago in Leilani Estates and the impact that it has had on those communities of Kapoho and some of the ones that we have lost. Just looking back and reflecting back to the time, we know that you weren't necessarily in the leadership capacity that you are now as mayor during that time. But talk about some of the recovery efforts that have happened there to some of the residents that, who have lived through that and are currently continuing to move on beyond some of the destruction that they suffered through because of that flow. How has the rebuilding process been for those individuals, and what is the future for that community?
Well, it's interesting. So just thinking back on that, there was people that were devastated. They lost everything that they had. They've had property. The county working with HUD got a grant, and so there's a buyout program that is going on, and people were able to get up to $230,000 for their properties. Now that may sound like a lot, but if you had a lot more invested, that was kind of difficult for a lot of people. So we are in that process of the buyout. We have been making payoffs. There's a process that people are going through. So some people have already been paid. Many people are still waiting. We've been working with FEMA to rebuild our roads and infrastructure. And so that has been a long process. We're just getting to the end of that process. There's environmental assessments and things like that. And so we're hoping that early next year, which is almost next month already, we'll be able to start building back infrastructure, roads, and some other things. There's beaches that were lost, our boat ramp, parks that were, changed. And so it's very different for a lot of people. Houses that were right on the ocean or property that was right on the ocean with houses. There's no houses anymore. But the oceanfront, which was yards away from those houses, are now half a mile away from those houses. So it's interesting. We have meetings to work with that community, and there's still a lot of hurt, and we're trying to go through a process of healing. It's still difficult.
I want to circle back to where we started, which is talking about the viewing access and what you're trying to figure out with the federal government and, of course, with the state. Whose call ultimately will it be to create a viewing area? Is there synergy around that? And what are those conversations like? And if all goes well, how soon do you think a viewing area could be up and running? Because there are so many people who, despite being able to see it from almost anywhere on the island, would like to get as close as possible.
So, we've been looking at different options. Yesterday, an option was put up. I went out there last night, had conversations with the PTA commander, who's been very positive, with Josh Green, who's been very positive, with Ed Sniffen, because Department of Transportation, who've been very positive, with USGS, who's been very positive, and so we're working together. It's looking good. However, there's still a lot of safety concerns that need to be looked at and decided on, and then legal concerns that need to be looked at. My hope is that we can get those things figured out today and open it up today. The likelihood is it'll probably take us a couple of days, and unfortunately, time is not a luxury that we have. With everything else going on, the lava could be coming a little bit closer, and it may get a little bit more dangerous. So a lot of things that are going into this. Sorry, I got a phone ringing here. But the hope is that we can do it sooner rather than later. And if everything goes well, it would be today, but I have a feeling it may take a little bit of while.
And our time is almost up, but before we go, I want to just quickly shift gears just a little. This is the end of the year, starting a new year. You're going to be working with some new council members that have been elected into office there as well. Looking forward to this next year. What are your thoughts as you look to create this budget, to create your agenda, and working with this new council?
I'm optimistic working with the new council, and we've been doing some amazing things. I think there's a lot of synergy around the goals that we have in our administration. And our administration has been working to foster a sustainable Hawaii Island where people thrive and succeed. And for me, what sustainability means is the ability to allow our keiki to raise their keiki here on Hawaii Island, and their keiki in turn to raise their keiki here on Hawaii Island. For that to happen, we're going to need things like affordable housing and quality jobs. And some of the anchor things, the things like a environment that allows people to stay here, that people want to stay in. We have energy goals that we're working on. We just got a major grant becoming a hydrogen sister city with Namie, Japan, and Lancaster. We're working on some amazing things with affordable housing. Our housing numbers went from 1,000 in the pipeline for affordable housing when we came in to over 5,000. We're hoping to bring that up to over 6,000 units in the pipeline within the next couple of months. So talking to the council members that are there, the new ones that are coming in, they are pretty much in the same belief that we need to make sure that our local children are able to stay here, not only stay here, but stay here in a way in which they thrive and succeed. And so I'm optimistic moving forward.
Okay, and we're just about out of time, but before we let you go, your final message to those folks this morning when it comes to the eruption and your concerns for the community there. What would you say to folks?
You know, I think as far as the eruption, this is an amazing time to enjoy it, not to fear what's going on. We feel very comfortable that we are safe here. It's a great time to be on Hawaii Island. The other thing I just want to wish people who are watching is a very happy holiday season, safe and prosperous season. So thank you guys, and to you too. You know,
Hawaii Island Mayor Mitch Roth, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We know that you're extremely busy considering everything that's happening there, but we appreciate you taking time to answer some of our questions and give our viewers an update of what's happening with Mauna Loa. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Aloha.
Take care.
Well, great to hear from the mayor, and you heard him say that he's had 3 very sleepless nights over the last week. Of course, he's monitoring that situation very closely. His main concern, Ryan, it seems, not the flow impacting any homes or residential communities, but really people trying to view it and getting into trouble as they park illegally on the side of the Daniel K. Inouye Highway, also known as Saddle Road, to try to get the best vantage point. People driving 50, 60 miles an hour there. There are no lights for people who haven't been there. It's a very dark highway at night. It's not, like the highways we have here on Oahu. And so the concern, of course, being that you have pedestrians, you have little kids, you have families out there who understandably want to see the site, but at the same time could get into trouble. He did note that there was an accident there yesterday, and he himself, had a door open there and was close to coming into one himself. So he's really warning people to be very careful and saying that the officers are out there writing $1,000 citations.
Yeah, hoping that will deter people from doing just that. But you also heard from him saying that they are working with federal as well as state officials to try to find a way to create a viewing point so that people can safely access and view the lava flow of Mauna Loa from a safe location. But we did note, and he did note, that this flow and its current path has it creeping slowly towards that Saddle Road, which has become such a vital part of the island. Of course, for many residents who live there and commute back and forth between Hilo and Kona, that has become an essential roadway that has really shaved time off of the commute for many people who normally would have to take the Hamakua or the southern route roadways that go around the island. Many people may be expected to do that if this flow does in fact reach Saddle Road and crosses that highway, making it impassable and having to use those alternate routes to travel between both East and West Hawaii.
Yeah, and also he noted that this flow is different than ones that people have experienced in the past. Some lava flows, you can get very close. I remember being a kid and going on field trips and getting so close where the lava's hitting the ocean, you can feel the steam. He's saying that that is not the case with this particular flow. Of course, he's worried about the particulates in the air, but also he says, as close as 20 feet, you can get the equivalent of a sunburn. So they want to make sure that people stay a good distance away, and that could impact the road closure as well if that were to happen. It doesn't necessarily need to cross the road for that road to be closed down. So, but he did note that Hawaii Island is open for business, and really you could see the sparkle in his eye when he talked about just the magic of the island, seeing a snow-capped Mauna Kea erupting Mauna Loa, of course Kilauea as well, and then the beautiful beaches. So what a wonderful place to be. Looks like, Ryan, we need to plan a trip going home.
Yeah, we need to go back home. I mean, we build up Hawaii Island because we're from there, but it really is. And as he was talking about it, I just think about the things that the Hawaii Island Mayor has to deal with compared to the other mayors. I mean, it is such a unique situation where the problems there are vastly different than what others are experiencing. So we thank the mayor for his time and giving us that update. And of course, we encourage all of you to stay connected with the platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser for more updates on what's happening on Mauna Loa. As we close out the year, we are looking forward to another exciting month of guests. Some guests who we have not had the opportunity to speak to on this program will be joining us next month for the first time.
That's right. We are very much looking forward to speaking with Rear Admiral John Wade. He, of course, is in charge of the shutting down of the Red Hill fuel facility. The Navy experiencing an incident just yesterday with some fuel contaminants there. And so we'll be asking him about all of that and the long-term plan in terms of decommissioning the facility. The idea of closure in place, is that something that they're actively pursuing? We've heard many of the folks here at home say that that's not something they want. But, is that something that the Navy actually wants to do? So we're really looking forward to talking to him. We're going to check in with Chief Joe Logan to hear about recruitment at the Honolulu Police Department and how that's going, any safety concerns he has. And 2 days after his inauguration, we will be speaking to then Governor, now Governor-elect Josh Green. So a full slate of great guests for December. We hope you join us right back here on Friday. And until then, stay safe and take care of each other.
Aloha.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Long's Drugs.